Hello, welcome to another episode of This, That, and the Other. And I'm actually going to be discussing something I did a show on quite a few years ago, but I feel this subject needs to be revisited with some extra information and a little bit of corrections as well. What I'm going to be discussing is what the 1960 American Football League helmets looked like when the American Football League made its debut, 1960. The American Football League was thought up by Lamar Hunt. He was looking to try to buy a football team. The only team that was a possibility at the time, I believe, was the Chicago Cardinals, and that didn't happen. So he realized that there were quite a few cities, big cities, that still didn't have professional football teams, and also there were enough wealthy men that would be interested in owning football teams. So he, on a plane flight, he drew up a plan on how to get that league started, and eventually started contacting various wealthy men about becoming potential owners of AFL teams. It's kind of interesting story. I believe I did a show on the history of the AFL before, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, I'm going to do the teams that were in the AFL and what they're sitting alphabetically by their cities, what cities they were in when the AFL first came into existence. And the first one is the Boston Patriots. And this is what their helmet looked like back then. They had the hat with the number, white helmet, white gray face mask. All the teams back then had gray face masks. And that's the Boston Patriots 1960 helmet. It was only there for 1 year. Lou Saban was the original coach of the Boston Patriots, and the next year they switched the helmet to the helmet of the guy hiking the football. That was around until the 1990s, and it went through some variations. One thing I'm not going to be going into is when face mask colors changed and how many different colors teams have been through on face masks. I'm just not going to bother with that. But that hiking guy helmet, that was actually my favorite helmet. That lasted until the probably mid 1990s, and then they came up with that one with the Elvis, kind of like, they call it Flying Elvis. That's what they call the guy on the Patriot head you see now on the helmet. It's a silver helmet with a red face mask, and that's what they currently wear. Next we have the Buffalo Bills, and they were owned by Ralph Wilson, who came from Detroit, Michigan, and I believe I read that he had at one time been a part owner of the Detroit Lions football team. I think he had aspirations to be the owner, and I don't. It never happened. But anyway, he owned the Bills for many years until he passed away. Until recently, he owned the Bills for over 50 years. I'm not mistaken. Anyway, here's a Bills helmet, and I believe the numbers were actually dark blue. I don't. These are black on this one. I don't. I'm sure some of you experts that know the history of the Buffalo Bills would know for sure. I've seen pictures of the numbers dark blue, but it's a silver helmet. I guess he wanted it to look as close to the Detroit Lions helmet as possible. The Detroit Lions also had a silver helmet before they had the lion silhouette on the helmet. And Buffalo Bill, that helmet's was around for, I believe it was at 1960, 1961, and 1962. I believe I read that Lou Saban took over the Bills, if I'm not mistaken. He did not like those uniforms, and he changed it to the white helmet with the red buffalo, a standing buffalo on it, the gray face mask, had a blue stripe, red in the middle, another blue stripe on the end. Then 1970s, they came up with a white helmet with a blue buffalo and with a red streak going across the buffalo. 1980s, I believe, their helmet changed to red helmet with the same buffalo on it, just red color. At the time, all but the Jets in that division had white helmets, and they retired that, and they changed that red, which I actually did not like the red helmet, to be honest with you. And was 1994 throwback games, they actually made a red helmet with a white standing buffalo. They were trying to make it kind of look like the '62 Buffalo Bills, but not quite. It had white face masks, and then later on, sometime during the 2000s, they went back to the white helmet again with this streaking buffalo, which is what the helmet that they currently have now. That's what I was able to find out on the Buffalo Bills. I actually went to a game back over there back in 1993. Cool place to watch a football game. That brings us to the Dallas Texans. That team was owned by, original owner was Lamar Hunt, the founder of the AFL, and his son now owns the Kansas City Chiefs. The team was in Dallas for, I think, 3 years, and then they moved to Kansas City in 1963. The same year that the Chiefs, or the Texans came to Dallas, the NFL did not want the AFL to be the only league that had a team in Texas, so they expanded, and Dallas Cowboys were formed in 1960 as well. And Lamar Hunt got tired of competing with the Cowboys for attendance and moved the team to Kansas City. But this is a Dallas Texans helmet. You got the Texas, and you got Dallas star where Dallas is. Got the gray face mask, and that's the Dallas, Texans, 1960 to 1962. Those helmets were being used, and 1963 they switched to the KC Arrow. From what I understand, Lamar Hunt was looking for uniforms to be similar to what the 49ers looked like, and they used the red. They kept the red that they were using. He originally, actually, in Dallas, wanted to make the Texans a red, white, and blue team, and Bud Adams, that owned the Houston Oilers, beat him to that, and he had red, white, and blue on his uniform. So Lamar Hunt's like, well, I'll just go with red and white. And the Chiefs have had that same KC helmet ever since 1963. Maybe been some variations, maybe to the size of the KC. The face masks were gray until 1974. They switched to white face masks, and that's what I have on the Chiefs. Next, we have the Denver Broncos. They went through a few owners at the beginning, and Phipps brothers owned them for years. And here's the original Denver Broncos helmet. brown helmet with a number, white stripe. Helmet was around from 1960 and 1961 seasons. When Jack Faulkner took over as head coach, he changed. He had the uniforms changed. Matter of fact, they had their uniforms were brown and mustard. They had like mustard colored jerseys, the brown pants. They had mustard color and brown vertical striped socks. In a public ceremony on July 19, 1962, you had those vertical striped socks burned in a ceremony out in the middle of the field. Public burning ceremony. Only a few of those pairs of vertical striped socks are in existence now, and I believe I did hear that there is a pair available on display in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But anyway, the Broncos went from brown to the mustard color to orange and blue, and beginning of the 62 season they had a orange helmet with a blue horse on it, which changed to a white horse. A little different looking from what the horse was, and with the D logo. Then I see that the helmet the orange got darker with the same horse on it. 1967 they had a plain blue helmet. Now I did a show on that. I was never able to determine why they had that. I don't know if it was just a period of time where they were trying to make a decision on what the next helmet was going to be. But then next you see the D with a horse, and then the mid 90s you have the horse head. The colors jerseys went from orange to blue, dark blue, I remember, and I believe now they wear orange jerseys again. But anyway, that was what I was able to find out on the history of the Denver Broncos helmet. Pretty interesting history on that. My dad actually saw the Denver Broncos play a preseason game in the early 1960s in Mobile, Alabama against the Houston Oilers, and my dad remembered those vertical striped socks. Next we have the Houston Oilers, now the Tennessee Titans. That was originally owned by Bud Adams, and his family still owns the football team today. This is a 1960 Houston Oilers helmet, Columbia blue with a oil derrick on it. '60 Houston Oilers, and that helmet was like that from 1960 through 65. I'm reading, and there was the silver helmet with the Columbia blue derrick from 66 to 71, and Columbia blue with a white and scarlet derrick from 1972 to 74, before changing to a white helmet with a Columbia blue derrick beginning in 1975. And that went on until, well, the 1990s, when they became the Tennessee Titans. And the Tennessee Titans had the white helmet, and now they have a dark blue helmet. I don't even know what that logo is on a Titans helmet. To tell you the truth, see if I can see a picture of it. It's just basically a T in a circle fire around it, blue and red fire, and then the blue helmet it's blue and red fire as well with the T and three. I think it looks like 3 stars around the T. I guess 1999 was the year that the Tennessee Titans helmet came into existence, and the blue helmet in 2018. But that's what I was able to find out on Houston Oilers helmet history. Next, we have the LA Chargers helmet. Got the white helmet, the number on it, the blue streak of lightning. Great face mask. 1960 LA Chargers. And yes, they were called the LA Chargers in 1960. They moved to San Diego the next year because Barron Hilton had owned the Chargers at the time. Did not want to keep competing with the Rams for fans. From what I'm reading here, 1961 to 65, they had the white helmet with the number and the gold lightning. 66, they went back to the blue lightning. 67 to 73, they had the gold lightning. Then 1974, they were the first team in the NFL to come up with a different color face mask. All the NFL face masks at the time used to be gray, and they came up with a yellow face mask, gold, whatever you want to call it. And they had that royal blue helmet, dark royal blue, with a gold face mask and the yellow lightning. 1988, they went to navy blue helmet with white streak of lightning outlined in gold. Now they're back to the white helmets with the number. During they featured those helmets in 1994 during the throwback games, and that was the only team that got compliments on the throwback uniform for the Chargers. Other teams did not get as favorable of a review as that team did. Fans wanted them to go back to those uniforms, the powder blue with the white helmets. And I don't know if I mentioned or not, but they were the LA Chargers the first year, then San Diego, and they moved a few years ago. They moved back to Los Angeles, so they are again the Los Angeles Chargers. All right, next we have the New York Titans. That is now the New York Jets. Very dark blue helmet with the gold stripe. And those helmets were around 1960, 61, 62. The team was owned by an announcer, Harry Wismer, and then he sold the Titans to a syndicate of quite a few wealthy businessmen. Leon Hess was one of the investors, and Leon Hess owned the Jets for years. They came up with the green and white colors after the Hess gas station. That was the gas station colors. But 1963, they had a white helmet with a green stripe across the middle and a green jet plane. It said Jets in the middle. They had the jet planes on the helmet. 1964, you see a white football that says the word Jets in the middle, outlined in green. Then 65, you see green football with the word Jets in it, and that went on until 1978 season. I remember they debuted the green helmet with the white jets and a little bit of a jet plane over the word Jets. They came in 1994 for the throwback games. They brought back the green football, but it was on a green helmet. They're trying to make it look like the Joe Namath uniforms, but it wasn't quite the same. They didn't change the helmet color. Then 1990s, they went back to the white helmets with the green jets on it, like the Joe Namath years. And for some reason, they changed the helmets again. I don't know why they did that. I don't like their current helmet, but it's a green helmet with the word Jets and then a white football below the word Jets. I have not been a fan of those current helmets, but that's what I have on a history of the New York Titans / New York Jets helmets. And last, we have the Oakland Raiders. Their helmet, just a plain black helmet. And this helmet was around 1960 to 1962 seasons, and then they came up with a silver helmet with a man with the eye patch. I heard from a friend that Al Davis was actually the one that came up with that Raider with those colors and that helmet. The Raiders were originally, I believe, owned by Wayne Valley, and then Al Davis finally took. He was the AFL commissioner for a while until he merged with the NFL in 1970, and then he ended up buying the Raiders. He was the owner of it for years. I believe his son owns the Raiders now. But anyway, this was a helmet that was the incorrect one that I had supposed to be from 1960. It may be the helmet from the 1962 season, what I've seen in pictures, but the actual, from what I can see, this is actually the correct 1960 Raiders helmet. 1963, this was when the eye patch helmet made its debut, along with the silver numbers. The uniforms used to be black and gold before that, prior to 1963. And just waiting for an image to show up here. The shield that has the guy with the eye patch, I actually believe it was outlined. The background was white, and then it was like a white background with a guy wearing a black helmet with a eye patch, and then 1964. It says the word Raiders on it. Then the shield was black with the man wearing the eye patch and with a silver helmet. So that's the current helmet of the Raiders now. They were Oakland Raiders and Los Angeles Raiders, and now back to Oakland Raiders, and now they're Las Vegas Raiders. Kind of interesting how that team ended up moving around to different places. But that's what I have on the history of the AFL helmets, and there may still be some incorrect things. Like I said, I didn't go into any kind of history as far as face mask color. I just wasn't interested in going into that. The AFL did expand. In 1966, the Miami Dolphins made their debut, and in 1968, the Cincinnati Bengals were added on. Paul Brown was their coach, took over as their coach, and he formed the Cincinnati Bengals. And he had been fired from the Cleveland Browns. The Browns were named after Paul Brown, and yeah, he coached the Bengals when they made their debut. But I don't have many helmets on the Miami Dolphins or Cincinnati Bengals. But anyway, that's what I have on a 1960 AFL helmets. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. And like I said, I'm looking for more ideas on shows to do in the future. My show is about preserving history, especially obscure aspects of history. That being said, like, subscribe, share. As always, thanks for watching.